So without further ado, if you give a warm welcome to Pastor Brent Purvis.
What are you saying? The lesson's going to be so bad they're going to walk out on me, huh, dog? All right, I hope it's not going to be that bad for you today. Look, I thank you for being here and making the transition. Also for all of those who's been praying for my father, who's been going through some health issues right now. He gave an update this morning, and we'll give you guys an update on social media later on. But they've let him out of the hospital. They got a heart monitor on him and things like that. Something caused a sudden drop in blood pressure. They still don't know why, but they've done all kind of tests on him and everything like that. But that's where he's at. But I appreciate your prayers. Also appreciate you guys stepping up in the community the way you have. Y'all are fantastic. You as a church are just unbelievable. Right off the bat, we're able to give $25,000 to the Red Cross to help here locally. And then on top of that, another $25,000 to Samaritan's Purse, who is in Lee County as well, helping those people. And so you've been fantastic, and I've just been overjoyed to see the generosity that we've had here at the church. So thank you so much. Well, let's jump right in today. Welcome to BP Leadership, and I'm honored and glad to be here with you today. I'm glad to be here today and excited to be here with you today. I look forward to it today, to be honest. I've got a crazy schedule, and I just look forward to this because there's something about being in an environment with people that are on the leadership journey and that they want to grow. There's something about that for me that I just like being around people that are intentionally growing and wanting to grow. And today I want to talk to you about something that I'm extremely passionate about. It was about a month ago, my father called me and he said, "Can you take this speaking date for me with BP Leadership?" This is before he had health issues or whatnot. And so now I look at it and say, "Oh, God's hands was just perfect." And I complained for just a moment and said, "Look, I'm too busy, yada, yada." And then he told me the topic, and I said, "Okay, I got it. I'll handle that one." And the reason I'm excited about this topic is I believe that it is by far my God-given gift. I believe that God gives gifts to people, and he certainly gave me this gift. So I want to talk about how to read people quickly. How to read people quickly. Now, here's why I want to talk about this. I think we can all agree on something as leaders in the room. Most of the problems in your life, most of the problems you left at the office just a moment ago are people problems, aren't they? I mean, beyond the surface, it may feel like it's a system problem, a project problem, a stress problem, a management problem, but beyond that, it is what? It's a people problem. Almost every problem in your life has to do something with people. Most of the time, people placed in the wrong area. We may put a different label on this thing we call a problem, but at the root of it, it's a people problem, almost 90% of the time. And so that's the reason I believe this is so important. I believe that every one of you could agree with me that there are people in your life that at one time you let them in, and maybe you shouldn't have trusted them, and maybe it caused you financial problems. You put them in a position they couldn't handle, or maybe they betrayed you, or maybe they hurt your company, or hurt sales, or hurt whatnot. And if you would have discerned them right, you never would have put them in that spot. And some of them, by the fact, they betrayed you so bad, hurt you so bad, that if you had like a time machine, I mean, if you had Back to the Future, DeLorean, and you had a working flux capacitor, seen that movie? And you could get up to 88 miles an hour, you would go back and you would say, "I'm going to erase the memory of this person. I'm going to wish I never, ever even spoke to this person." And that's the importance of knowing how to read people. That person caused you a lot of problems. Now, on the flip side, there's people in your life that have added extreme value to your life. You know, there's people in your life that they've loved you when no one's loved you. They have brought profits to your company. You've put them in a spot and you never had to worry about them. And they just continue to thrive and bring results. And more than likely in your company, in your business, you love that person. You love that area. It's doing great. Why? Because you read them correctly, or someone read them correctly and placed them in the right spot, and they're thriving because of that. And so the importance of reading and discerning people is extremely a high priority in my life, and it should be in our lives as well, because with leadership, we are dealing with people. And so the difficulty, though, is this. The difficulty is, I believe that reading people is a God-given gift primarily. I really do. I believe it's either God gives it to you. He talks about it in the scriptures that some of us have the ability to discern spirits, meaning we can discern if they got good motives or bad motives, if they be positioned well or not. It's a God-given gift, which tells me this: if we're going to learn it and we don't have that God-given gift, it's going to be harder. If we're going to learn it and we don't have that God-given gift, then we've got to rely on experience. And experience, as you know, teaches you twice as much as a book or someone teaching you. I mean, how many of you have had financial problems in your life at one season or whatnot, and you learn more through that financial problem than any book you could ever read? Or how many of you have mismanagement problems, and you learn more through the changing out of employees or this, that, or my gosh, a relationship problem? And you can read all the self-help books you want about how to have the perfect relationship. Now, you go through a bad relationship, you had a bad relationship experience, and you learn way more than that book, right? And so the problem with learning how to discern people is if we don't have this God-given gift, then we've got to learn by experience. And sometimes experience can be painful, can't it? Sometimes you want to avoid that, right? And so what I want to do today is I do believe it can be a learned trait to some extent, but I want to save you some hard experiences, okay? I want to be the guy that down the road later you say, thank you for that lesson because I almost hired them and I didn't. Or thank you for that. I almost stepped into this relationship and I didn't. So I want to save you some problems in the area, and that's my goal today. I do believe out of I don't have many gifts. God didn't give me but a few gifts. He gave me the gift of preaching and communicating and reading people. And believe it or not, reading people is so much higher on my gifting chart than even communicating or anything. He didn't give me but a few gifts. Unfortunately, I'm not one of these guys that he gave tons of different gifts and talents. He did give me the God-given looks I have. Phenomenal. I mean, just, I walk down the road and people just faint. I don't know what it is. But outside of that, I'm joking. Outside of that, he gave me the highest gift that he gave me. He gave me the ability to read people. My mother, some of you that know her, have the same thing. We have this odd way of I can shake a person's hand and I can read their motives, their intent. It's odd. If I were to tell you stories, you would think I'm odd and weird. But my mother's the same way. My mother can be in someone's presence for a few moments and she can read them. And it's crazy. I can read a person easier than I can read a book. My entire life, by the way, even as a teenager, my dad, I'd be a 13-year-old kid. And my dad would, Brent, you're going to this board meeting with us today. I go, what? I'm going to play on the playground. I go to play. No, you're going with me. And he'd sit me in there and say, just sit down, shut up, but tell me when this is over. I want to tell you what this person, what do they want? And he would do this. As I got older and people realized I had this gift, they would pay me to come sit in their board meeting. Before they would hire people, they would say, listen, I'll pay you. I'll pay your son $200 if he'll sit here. Okay. Tell me, how this person is, or what do they want? Is this a good fit? And I just thought it was normal until later in life, Dad would tell me, Brent, that is not normal, but that's an extraordinary gift because all throughout your leadership journey, what are you trying to do? You're trying to place people in the right spot so that the organization wins, right? Your entire leadership journey is all about taking someone from that's right here and taking them where they could possibly go, right? And you cannot do that if you can't read people. If you can't read people, you'll start to misplace people, and then the organization gets off course, right? And so one of the highest gifts that you can learn is how to read people. When I'm thinking about my mother, I got to think about a while back, this is how crazy her ability is to read people. Dad called her into some counseling appointment that he had one time, and this couple could not have a baby for anything, so he brings mom in and says, maybe we can pray over them and whatnot. And they go through the whole hour deal about how they tried everything and it's going to cause a divorce and all this stuff. And they leave. And Dad said, isn't that sad? I can't believe they can't have a baby. And I'm glad we prayed over them. We need to pray some more over them. And my mom just, those of you who know my mom, this is where I get it from. She's just very blunt, bottom line. She said, well, you can't have a baby, Bill, if you don't have sex. And Dad says, huh? What do you mean? You can't have a baby if you don't have sex. They don't have sex. They've never had sex. Therefore, there'll be no baby. And so stop feeling bad. They don't have sex, so you can't have a baby. Later, we'd find out they would bust up, and the husband would say, we never had sex. It was a coy that, we wanted a baby, but really things weren't working out. We didn't. And I thought, my dad was hilarious. He thought, how in the world did you know that? By sitting in a meeting just for a few moments. But that ability to read people is extremely important in your leadership journey. Now, chances are you came here today because you've got some sort of problem in your organization that I'm going to bet, if I was a betting man, that's a people problem. And at the root of that, it's a person placed incorrectly. Most people problems in our organization are due to a lack of placing them in the wrong place. Most problems you deal with today are because of you placed someone yesterday in the wrong place. And most problems that you'll face tomorrow is because you placed someone today in the wrong place or misread them. And here's the deal that I want you to remember. If you don't get anything today, get this, okay? Your leadership and how far you go, your leadership and how far you go will be decided by the people you choose to have in your life, kick out of your life, and develop in your life. Now that's worth your money today, okay? That's worth your sandwich, all right? Let me read that again. Your leadership and how far you go will be decided by the people you choose to have in your life, kick out of your life, and develop in your life, okay? And so it's extremely important that we know how to read people. Now, let me give you 3 reasons real quick on why every leader needs to learn how to discern, okay? The first is this, for protection. Along the way, you got to understand that the voices that you allow in your life will begin to dictate the choices that you make in your life. The voices that are closest to you, will begin to dictate your choices. It's true. The people that you're around affect how you make decisions for your company, for your relationship, for your finances. The greatest indicator of your future is your friends. It's the people you hang out with. And so learning to discern protects the company, protects your leadership, protects the things in your life. The greatest indication of how far your company will grow, by the way, is not by the product that you have. Many of you have great products. It's by your ability to discern people. The greatest indication of how far your company will go is when you look around, the people that are in your organization. If you got great people, high quality people, your organization can go further than if you have a great product. I've seen a lot of people have great products, but they ain't got great people. No one can push the product because they don't have great people. And so it's all about discerning and hiring the right people and keeping the right people in the right place and keeping the wrong people out of your organization. I believe it's the most important thing. I believe it's more important to learn to discern people, to protect the vision, protect the organization, than any training seminar, than any business plan, than all of that. It's all about hiring the right person, training the right person, taking them to their potential, placing the right person. We've had people that we place here at the staff, and they were good people, but they just did no good. And you thought, man, I knew I read them right, their heart, their intention, their motives. Why are they underperforming? And it was because we didn't place them in the right spot. And we'd slide them over to an area of their strength, and they would just shine. It's all about saying, this is the person, let me discern where they're best suited for the company. And I believe it's the greatest thing that keeps your vision. When we talk about protection, why we ought to learn to discern, it protects the vision, doesn't it? You put the wrong people around your vision, and that's going to be a disaster. You put the right people around your vision, and they'll protect it, and they'll take it to a different level, and they'll carry out. It's all about discerning the right people. Now, the second reason that we want to learn to discern is for progress. It's for progress. Discerning the right people has everything to do with the progress of your business. Allowing the right people in your life helps what we call forward progress. Allowing and placing the right people in your life, it allows us to have forward progress. If you put the wrong people in the wrong spot and you discern them incorrectly, it hinders forward progress. It doesn't help it. It hinders it. It stops it. How many of you have hired people and they have been a load instead of a lift? When you hire someone, you either get a load or a lift. I've done it. I've hired people wrong, and I feel a load. One time I hired a secretary. She was the worst secretary I've ever had in my life. This was, 15 years ago. Hired her, I thought she'd be great, blah, blah. I had to think for her, tell her what to do, write her a list. I was stressed out just keeping her busy. I wanted someone to take it off my plate so I can feel a lift. But instead, I felt like, why am I feeling the pressure now to tell her how to do her job? Anybody ever had that before? It's exhausting, isn't it? It's exhausting. And so it protects your organization, but it also gives you progress when you discern and you place people in the right place. If your progress in your life is solely dependent on you, or your progress in your company is solely dependent on you, then your vision is too small. And so the fact of the matter is, all of you are here today because you want to grow. So you need people. You need people to take you where you want to go and to excel into the vision that God's given you. And if you need people, you better learn how to discern so you can place the right people in your life. Now, the third thing that it does is it is directly linked to our purpose, okay? Why we need to learn to discern is directly linked to our purpose. Reading people has everything to do with fulfilling your purpose. I know it's a bold statement, but it does. When you think about it and get to the root of that, reading people has everything to do with fulfilling your purpose. Here's why. Fulfilling your purpose and discerning people are directly connected. People come in and out of your life on purpose, don't they? Some of you veterans, you've been around for a while, okay? You've seen some things. You've been in business a long time. You would agree with me that the right person at the right time, the right contact at the right time is just beautiful. The wrong person at the wrong time in the wrong season can be absolute disaster. Some of you have learned from people that have burnt you, hurt you, betrayed you. If you could get in the DeLorean and get back and erase their name, you would. But guess what? You learn more from them and that negative experience than you could ever learn from a few positive people, couldn't you? So there's parts of that part of your purpose is connected to reading and placing people right. And chances are you're probably grateful for that person. Even though you wouldn't want to do dinner with them, you're grateful for the lesson they taught you, ain't you? There's lessons that you can be taught in bad seasons that are totally needed for the next season that God wants you to be, okay? And so your purpose is totally has everything to do with reading and discerning people. I believe even the good and bad, it has everything to do with your purpose. Some people, they're blessings, and some people are lessons, right? You either got a lesson or a blessing out of some of them. Some of them play an extraordinary part in your purpose. That's why reading people is huge. Now, I'm going to give you 7 quick tips. I know we're in a hurry this afternoon. 7 tips, 7 ways to dial into discernment. Now, the reason I'm saying dial into discernment is years ago, I bought my little daughter. She was probably 4 at the time, a little bitty walkie-talkie. Anybody remember those things are? None of the millennials, they're thinking, what are you talking about? Walkie-talkie, what? And this actually, you actually used it to talk, You didn't talk with your fingers and all that stuff. It was a fascinating device. And so I bought her this, and we were going to talk to each other. I was going to get in this room. She was going to get in this room. And she went through about 15 channels and couldn't figure it out. She was talking to truckers. She was talking to the neighbor. She was talking to everybody. And finally, I said, baby, we got to get on the same page. You've got to dial this thing in where you're on channel 3 and Daddy's on channel 3. And when we got that, she thought it was the coolest thing ever. Now she gave it to my dad, who lives next door, and they talk on walkie-talkies to each other. So it's pretty neat. But the reason I call this dial in is when you're going to discern people, I'm going to give you 7 ways that you can dial into this, okay? Now, these are I didn't pull this off the internet. I didn't pull this in different ways. Because this is my gift, I sat down and said, you know what? I'm not going to look at any outside sources just yet. I'm going to write down what do I do? What works for me? I want to sell you something that I personally smoked, okay? And so I said, let me look at this, and what do I do? And I methodically went through there and said, here's what I do. And if you can dial into this, you can learn to read people. All right, number 1, here it is. Dial into discernment by talking less and listening more. Whoo, that's an important one. It's a hard one, too. You know that God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, which means we ought to listen twice as much as we speak. You can't discern someone's motive. Should I hire them? Should I not? Should I move them here? What I do with it? You cannot discern someone's motives if you are the one talking. They can discern your motives. They can discern your passions. They can discern your vision. But you cannot discern them if you're speaking. So what you got to learn to do is just listen. See, here's what I've found out. People that will manipulate you in your life, they want you to talk because they can dial in and say, what is it that pushes their button? What are they passionate about? How much do they have? How can I get in and get what I need to get? And if you'll notice, they'll parrot you, okay? You pick someone with the wrong, you ever had this where you're talking to someone and they just, in a different way, are repeating everything you're saying? Ugh. Careful about that, okay? Let them talk. Ask them questions. And the more they talk, the more that you read. The more they talk, the more they read. A while back, we were looking at hiring someone about 6 months ago. And Scott, my administrator, did all the legwork, and then he did what he always does. He said, look, I know he's working for me, not you in a sense, and I'm going to be working more hands-on with him. But can I have you for 7 minutes? Because they know I can read someone in about 7 minutes, usually faster, but give me 7 minutes and I can do that. And I said, listen, hey, help me ask questions, but I just want to hear him talk. Just want to hear him talk. I want to hear his heart. If you listen long enough, you'll hear. Proverbs 10:19 was written by a guy named Solomon. Solomon was the most wealthy guy in the world. This guy I want to listen to, right? He was the wisest guy in the world. He ran multiple successful businesses, and he was a construction guy, architect, and gardener, and all kind of stuff. And here's what he said. He says, the wisest man ever lived. In the multitude of words, sin is not lacking, but he who restrains his lips is wise. Words express a person's thoughts. You want to know what someone's thinking? Listen closely to what they're speaking. So listen to them. As you listen, you'll begin to pick up. And more than likely, you'll see a red flag, or you'll see something that you go, you know what they mean by that? Or I like this person. I like them, and my spirit resonates with them. But learn to listen. Don't just shut up, listen, ask them questions. You're going to have plenty of time. Trust me. If you marry them and you hire them for your business or you do whatever, you're going to have plenty of time to talk to that person. Plenty of time. On the front end, though, you want to listen. So the number one rule is to dial into discernment. Talk less, listen more. Number two, dial in discernment by leaning into what you feel. Dial into discernment by leaning into what you feel. Here's what I mean by that. Leaning into what you feel, we have five senses, don't we? We can hear, we can smell, we can taste, we can see, all that. There's a sixth sense that is our feel. What does our gut say? As leaders, I cannot stress this enough. Trust your gut the first time. Trust your gut the first time. How many of us have made bad decisions, bought a car, hired a person, dated the wrong person, God forbid, married the wrong person, that we knew in our gut, our first gut says no, and then we start talking ourselves into it. You ever done? I've done it. I'll say, no, I didn't get a good read on that. But you know, if I coached them, they'd be good. All they really need is a little bit of coaching, a little bit of training. Hey, they got this good quality, and my gut says no. Yeah, gut. But have you thought about? I really need to hire someone. I'm desperate. I'm in need. We do that, don't we? We get desperate. The company gets desperate, needs some. We hire the wrong person, and we ignore our gut. Your gut, most of the time, not your second, not your third, not your fourth, your first gut reaction, boom, I believe is about 90% correct. Learn to listen to it, but also trust it. Just trust it. You don't have to have logic, reasoning. Sometimes we lean so heavy on that. Just trust your gut. Trust your gut, and you'll know it if it's the right person. But lean into what you feel. I've recently read an article about women. They say women have much more of a higher sensory to this, that they, especially mothers, but they know. And I read this article about women that had been mugged and robbed, and some of them almost lost their life, and they were leaving shopping malls or leaving different places, and danger came upon them. And every one of them said, I don't know what it was, but I felt it. I felt it before I even walked out of the door. I felt something's not right. And I didn't stay in the store, and I left anyways, and then something happened. Or I'm going out to my car, and something doesn't feel right, and then something happened. Trust your gut. My wife, just the other day, was driving down the road, had the kids in the back, and headed home, and she said, something just didn't feel right. And I saw a car pull out and started getting behind me. And it followed me all the way down. We live on some back roads, all the way down there. She called me, she said, I just don't feel right about this car behind me. I don't want to know where I live. And so I said, well, how about you just pass the house? That way they don't know where you live. I'll let you get out of sight, and then I'll pull out of the driveway, and I'll get behind them. I can get a tag number, see what happens. Well, I let him do that and get over the road, and then I caught up with him. And the moment I got behind the guy, he gets very squirrely. Then he's turning around and looking at me and turning out and leaving and going a different route. And I said, Carrie, you read your gut right. Your gut was, I don't feel right about this. You ought to read your gut. Your first gut feeling is probably right, okay? And so learn to lean into how does this person make me feel? What are they radiating? Are they radiating something that I don't like? Trust your gut. Now, the third way to dial in a discernment is by watching who they do life with. Watching who they do life with. Who they hang with tells you a lot about the type actions and decisions they're going to make. I tell you what's a great tool we have now, social media. You can see who people are connected with. You can totally see who they run with. And when you see who they run with, you can see what type decisions, what type of lifestyle they have. The scripture says this, can two or more walk together unless they're agreed? You know, the world says, can birds of a feather flock together? You know, that if you're around people, more than likely you have a common denominator with those people. More than likely you have something in common with them. And the easiest way to read, if you just can't get a read, the easiest way is when you say, let me see who they're hanging with. I read an article the other day about a airliner. I can't remember if it was American or if it was Delta. It was just fascinating. They said back in the day we could get tricked a lot by just reading resumes, and they were impressive and they were great, and people would take courses on how to master the interview, and they would do great. It was phenomenal, and then they'd get in and they weren't as good. They said, but now with social media, it is the greatest hiring friend that we have. We read the resume, they say this feels like it'll fit, they put it to the side and don't even go further, and they look at their social media. And when they look at their social media, this guy says, if I see them out drinking and partying and the people they're around and acting crazy, why in the world am I going to give them a $100 million plane with 150 passengers? Not going to trust them. He said, on the contrary, if I see them with family or if I see them in airport, I see them professional, he says, okay, let's move the interview forward a little bit more. So if you can't get a good read on someone, check out the social media. See who they hang with. See who they do life with, because chances are the people they do life with, there's something in common with them, okay? And so check that out. Dial into discernment by doing that. The fourth way to dial into discernment is by looking at body language. Looking at body language. Now, sometimes we overplay this. We say, are their arms crossed? Are they jittery? What if they're cold? You know what I mean? What if the question is, or if they're jittery, they didn't have eye contact, they're jittery. My question is, are they always jittery? So what you want to do is you want to catch someone out of the norm. If you meet them a couple times and you go, okay, they never have eye contact. Okay, they're always cold. Okay, they're always jittery. Then that's their norm. But when they're not in their norm and they're acting different, that's when you need to cue up on your body language. I read an article just this morning, as a matter of fact, it was decent. It was a woman that was a doctor that she all she did is study body language. And she helped the FBI read people and all kind of stuff. She said this: 7% of words, reading people is about 7% of words, 38% of tone, voice, volume, rate of pitch, 55% hand gestures, facial expressions, posture, and body language. She claimed this. She said, if you ever think about it, and this is so true, you ever watch these movies that you'll be in the middle of a movie and then some Chinese guy comes in and they start talking foreign language that you don't know, but it's about a 2 or 3 minute segment, but yet you still know everything that's going on? And you're going, oh, okay, yeah. You don't know Chinese that good, okay? What you're doing is you're reading their body language. You're understanding what's going on. She said that 93% of communication is about body language, is about reading body. So when you're interviewing someone or watching someone, pay attention to that. People, and here's why. People are conditioned to tell you what they think you want to hear. Amen? Right? Like I thought everybody was going to bust out on that one in my mind. Play that out differently. I'm kidding with you. People are conditioned to tell you what they think you want to hear. People are not, however, naturally conditioned for their body alignment to match what their mouth is saying. Think about that. They're not naturally trained for their body language to match what they're saying if they're lying to you, if they're manipulating. If their body language is telling one message and their lips are telling another message, they're lying, okay? And so watch that. Check that out. I believe you can check that out and you can pick it up and see, is this person acting squirrely? Not. Do they look you in the eye? Maybe I'm old school. My dad taught me to look people in the eye when you talk to them. You shake them with a firm handshake and look them in the eye. And just the other day, I met someone my wife introduced me to and has become friends with. She's a woman that is very educated. Matter of fact, her education, you can only get it in 3 places in the U.S., so very, very smart woman. Shook her hand. The first thing I noticed is I said, God, this woman is looking into my soul. I mean, she was just locked on. It's good grief. And she's talking to me, and afterwards, she texts Carrie, she said, I really like your husband. He's very honest, certain, he knows who he is, and he knows where he's going. I read all that by looking into his eyes. And I said, I told you that woman was staring into my eye. I said, that's good to know that she saw those qualities. I'm just glad that she didn't know that I was having an affair on you. And she said, what? I said, yeah. It's a lady named Krispy Kreme, twice a week. And she's hot, that sign says so. I said, man, I mean, this woman, but she picked that up by looking into my eyes. And I noticed right when I shook her hand, I said, God, this lady has got zeroed in. But body language, you can check that out, and it helps a lot of times. I also believe this, the fifth way to dial into discernment is by evaluating someone's past decisions. You can discern a lot by looking at the decisions they've made in the past. Now, give some people some grace on this, okay? Every one of us have made bad decisions, right? I know I have. Look at consistency, okay? Do they consistently make dumb decisions or decisions that would hurt your company, your organization? It's been said the best prediction of the future is the past. Look at what they've done. Look at the risks they've taken. Look at that stuff and say, okay, when I'm in a job interview, what do they tell me about some of their past failures or some of their past successes? I know when I interview people, or used to, I don't do it as much now, I'll catch the last bit of it. But I'd rather know what you've done. I always ask the question, I say, tell me what you did at your last organization that really made a difference in the company. What did you do? See, I don't care where you've been, what your resume said. I don't care about that. Tell me what you've done. Isn't that what matters anyway? Here's the reason why. I want to hire some thinkers in our organization, but I also want to hire doers, people to get out there and they do it and they make stuff happen. A doer has no problem in the world telling you what they've done, the value they've added to the organization. A thinker, they're going to give you a whole list of stuff they think they've done, and I help structure this. A doer will rattle off, say, tell me 3 things that you did that you feel made a significant value in the organization. They'll have no problem. You ever met people, by the way, this is an easy indication where you can read that they're not a doer if you're interviewing people. You ever met someone that they got to tell you their job description or what they're responsible for, and you have no clue what they're talking about? You met people like that? I met one the other day. I said, oh, my gosh. She went on a 15-minute description of her job, her title. I left more confused than when I asked her, what do you do? A doer can tell you in 1 minute, I'm a gym owner, I'm a preacher, I'm a pastor, I'm so-and-so. But someone that's not a doer, they're going to go on and on and on and make themselves sound great, but at the end of the day, it's like, good night, I still don't know what to do. All right? So be taking that and evaluate past decisions, okay? See what they've really, really done. Most people put on the front of all they do, but they can't clearly tell you. It tells you they never really made any good past decisions. It tells you that they're what I call positional surfers. They're just surfing from one position to the next. They want to surf into your company, ride it for a little bit until all the bag of tricks are out, and surf right into the next one, and you look good on their resume, okay? Ask yourself this. This is number 6. Ask yourself, and this is what I like to call the $1 million question, all right? What do they really want? The reason I say what do they really want is this. I learned this from a guy who was a multi-millionaire. He had 14,000 people in his company. He was, matter of fact, the guy that actually told my dad to hire me. He said, the guy you're looking for he's your son. He's right up under your nose. You're too close to it. He said, matter of fact, want to hire him if you'll give me permission. But if you need him, hire him. And he taught me this. He said, Brent, you got to know something. Everybody wants something. Everybody. He said, every human being on the planet, everybody wants something. And the question when you're talking to someone is you need to ask, what do they, and he was real funny how he emphasized, he would always say, Brent, and what do they really want? He'd always emphasize really. What do they really want? What do you mean? No. There's going to be something that you throw out that it sounds like what they want, but what do they really want? And to this day, I hear his voice. What do they really want? The fact is, everybody wants something. And it don't have to be bad. Some people want encouragement. Some people want validation. Some people want love. Some people want connection. Some people want to get in your pocket. Some people want to just get a position. Some people want to ride your coattail. Some people want to cause chaos. Some people want, you got to find out what do they really want. And so when you're talking to someone in your interview, ask yourself the question, what do they really want? Not what they're telling me they want. There's always 2 stories, what they're telling you want or what do they really, really want. I believe that when you find into that, you can see really the motives. I always like to check too, what do you think strokes their ego? See, if I can find what strokes someone's ego, I can find what feeds their ego. I can say, okay, this is what they're in it for. There was a guy a while back in the church a couple years ago, and I could tell that he just wanted the microphone. That's all he wanted. He wanted to be in front of people. It was a volunteer position. He loved to have the microphone. And I told the guys on the staff, I said, I don't feel good about this guy. Take the microphone away from him, get it to somebody else. He's in it for the wrong motives. He wants influence for himself. And influence is always for them, never for him, right? Influence is for others. God gives you influence for others, all right? Not for yourself. But I said, this guy's motives ain't like, no, Pastor Brent, he's so good. He's so great. He's the greatest MC. He's good. You're reading it wrong. I said, okay, maybe I am. I doubt it. But maybe I am. Nevertheless, I'm your boss. Take the microphone away from him, okay? Take it away and watch what he does, all right? Give him 30 days. The guy had a meltdown. We replaced him with someone else and said, thanks for your service. We just want to try this guy too. Let him have a chance to shine, use his gifting. You would have thought someone slept with his wife or something. You would have thought someone slapped his children. He wasn't getting paid for the job. It was a volunteer gig. He left the church, created all kind of chaos. Why? He wanted that influence. He wanted that mic. He wanted it for himself. It showed his motives. But I learned that by seeing what stroked his ego. I said, oh, okay. He loves when people come up and say, great job this morning setting them up. That was so good. Great job. You're so good on that. So I said, okay, that's his motive. What did he really want? He wanted influence for an impure motive. So ask yourself that $1 million question. What do they really want? What do they really know? You know what's cool about this, though? Most of the time, you have what they really want, whether it's negative or positive. You got to guard it if it's negative. But most of the time, what I find is it's positive. You know what people really want? They want you to believe in them. If you're an owner of a business, they want you to say, you can do it. Hey, look, the reason I hired you is I see potential in it. They want encouragement. They want validation that they're going the right direction, doing the right things. A lot of people want love, connection. They want encouragement. You've got it. Give it. There's an old saying that says, whatever you need, give it away, and it comes back. Whatever you want. Say you're going through a time and you really need encouragement and you hadn't told nobody about it. Guess what? Give that encouragement away, and you'll get it by giving it away. You want love, give love away, and it'll come back. Whatever you give away comes back. It's odd, but it's just the way that it works. But find yourself asking the question, what do they really want? And if it's good, give it to them. If it's not, guard yourself from it. People ask me this all the time. They say, Brent, how do I become a better leader? When we talk about what do people really want. 2 ways. One is what you're doing now, intentional growth. You got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. What you're doing now is intentional growth. If I'm going to get in shape and work out and I want to lose pounds, you know the first thing I do? I get a plan. I don't just say, man, I'm going to go eat a brownie and I'm going to go eat all that fried food and this and that, and I really want to lose weight. No. I say, okay, let me get a plan. What do I need to do? Growth is the same way. If you want to be a leader, you got to have an intentional plan. The second is add value to others. Simply add value. I tell young people all the time, how do I become a leader? The quickest way to become a leader in your organization is simply by adding more value to others than anyone else. You add more value to others than anyone else in your company, in your organization, and you will become a leader. Quickly, people will be coming to you, asking you questions. That's how you become a leader. But ask the question when you're discerning people, what do they really want? What is it that this person really wants? Now, the last one, okay, I'll read this one in a hurry. Last one, number 7, to dial into discernment, is to dial into their patterns. People have habitual patterns, okay? People don't change unless something bad is happening, unless something's wrong, unless they hit bottom hard enough and they have to. People have habits. So when you're reading a person, say, is this out of the norm for their pattern, okay? Is this part of their pattern, or is this not like them? People plan their actions, okay? If they're going to manipulate you, if they're going to take advantage of you, people plan their actions. They rarely plan their reactions. Think about that. Who you are when something bad happens, or a storm, or this or that, the real you is revealed. People plan their actions. They can fool you, but they rarely plan their reactions. Reactions are like reflexes. They're intuitive. I have a friend of mine that's a world champion UFC fighter. I had him come down to the church, Frank Shamrock, and I was talking with him at dinner when he came down, and I said, how did you beat all these guys that were bigger and stronger and all this stuff? How did you beat guys that weighed 30 more pounds? He said, it was very simple. I had a game plan, but my thing is I took their tape and I studied their reaction. When they get tired, what do? When they get hurt, he said, everyone has a reaction. If you're a wrestler, you go in to grab their legs to take a takedown. If you're a stand-up guy and you get rocked and you get hit, some of them immediately go into just swinging wild, no plan at all. He said, so I planned for their reactions. And when I planned for their reactions, I knew there would be a moment in the fight where I'd hit him, where I'd catch him, they'd be tired. And I already knew the moment he drops his hands, I'll hit him there. If he goes for a takedown, I'll do a guillotine choke or whatnot, all this. And he learned all that by watching their reactions. Same way in life. Watch people's patterns, watch people's reactions, and it'll tell you a lot about them. A friend of mine recently said, Brent, I need your help. And we had a mutual friend. He said, I felt a step back from this person at work, at the office. And we got to work together on a team, and we're not getting stuff done. And I just felt a step back. And, he used to like all my stuff on social media. We used to go every Sunday out to eat. Now it's none of that. But yet in person at the office, he acts normal. And I can't feel it. I said, there's an issue there. You need to make sure it doesn't go up underground. Get with your friend. He said, well, that's going to be uncomfortable. I said, well, you'd rather be uncomfortable over a conversation 30 minutes than uncomfortable for the rest of your life and the rest of your work life. So hash it out. What the guy was sensing was what? A change in patterns, a change in the normal pattern. And so watch people's pattern. All right, so in closing, those are the 7 ways to dial into your discernment. And I believe that it'll help your business, your church, your life. And remember this, your leadership and how far you go, How far your company grows will be decided by the people you choose to have in your life, kick out of your life, and develop in your life.